I was about to reply to this just as a comment, but then I was like, it's summertime Chicago. So many people come here on trips. Let me just make a video. I have made videos in the past, but like I have no idea where they are. I can't scroll and find them. So I'll just do a little fresh one. There are vintage stores and secondhand shops all over the place. My advice though, for people that are taking a trip to Chicago and are here for a few days, you want to go to where they are concentrated. Like I hate when I'm traveling somewhere and I have a vintage store I want to go to and I go and it's a bust, but then it's like there's nothing else around it. So I'm like, what the, like you want to go where you can bop around and go to a bunch of different places. And I have two recs for doing that. First one is Wicker Park, my neighborhood, all along Milwaukee Avenue. There are, I don't even know how many vintage stores, but it seems like a million. I've lived here for 10 years and there's always been vintage stores and places, but like lately I walk down Milwaukee, I'm like every other store is a vintage shop. Probably my favorite is Store B Vintage. They just always have so much cool shit to look at and it's just like cozy and fun inside. So like just have it your start be Store B Vintage and then like it's a 2-3 block radius just all up and down the same block, and there are so many vintage stores and there's everything from like true vintage like 50s 60s 70s vintage to like more secondhand streetwear, and then there's secondhand designer, there's t-shirt, there's like really everything. And aside from all of the vintage and the secondhand, there's also just a ton of other cute little boutiques and shops. And when you're done on Milwaukee, walk over a few blocks like and cut through the neighborhood. It's cute and it's pretty, and go over to Division Street, and then there's also more vintage shops and more cute boutiques on Division Street. I love Lost Girls is a vintage store that has a location on Division, like just map to there, start there, and then just there's a bunch all, and there's like vintage homewares, all of that shit. So Wicker Park. And my second rec for where to go, where it's a concentrated area of a lot of vintage stores, is Pilsen on 18th Street. There's Pilsen Vintage, there's Knee Deep, there's Well Rounded, there's Trash, there's Very Best Vintage. There's again, it's like all along the same street, so you can just bop around. And it's a great way to like be able to see different neighborhoods in Chicago, and then you can pop in and get a bite to eat somewhere. If you're here on a weekend, there is usually a vintage market. I think every single weekend. In the summer, go to Vintage House Chicago on Instagram. They will post like every week what vintage markets are happening that weekend. And I highly recommend, if you're here over a weekend and there is a vintage market, go to one, because there's so many great vintage sellers and dealers in Chicago that don't have storefronts but are always at these pop-ups and these markets. So you can always find great shit going to a vintage market here too.